everybody, and welcome to episode 4 already of the Bao Podcast. Today I'm here with Sunita van Heers. Sunita is the founder and managing director of SuReal. SuReal is a consultancy firm that supports companies and government agencies in making buildings and city projects more sustainable. They use all types of studies to reach this goal, which I'm very curious to hear more about during this conversation. And one of the projects that they already worked on is the Victoria Reconversion Project in Brussels, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so without any further ado, it's with great pleasure that I welcome Sunita to the show.
Thank you.
Sunita, we were very intrigued by your activities because you're very focused on the sustainability side, right?
Indeed, yeah.
So I thought it would be a good point to begin to just hear you explain a bit where the idea for SuReal came from and how did you get it started and about really the beginning of the business.
At the beginning of the business. Yeah. Okay, maybe first of all, SuReal stands for Sustainable Real Estate.
Okay.
And that was actually the beginning. What are we going to name this? But the true beginning is I actually always worked in sustainability.
Okay.
All over the world. So the idea, it started already way back. Maybe just quickly what SuReal does. So the idea behind SuReal is to really focus on sustainability in the real estate sector. Because we felt that it was a link that was still missing, specifically here in Belgium. For example, I worked in Paris and in Madrid. And there you had consultancy offices specialized in the sustainability field, like the same way as we have an acoustician, you have the architect, or you have your bureau d'études. Sustainability is that important that it needs to be a specialized service on its own. And that's why we started it.
Okay, so you had a previous career then in also real estate, but specifically in the sustainability aspects of real estate. Specifically
in the sustainability of real estate, yes. I only worked in that through my entire professional career. So it's doing what I do now. And through this international experience, we can do it now in Belgium as well. And it's actually the link between, I also worked as an architect, as an engineer, and it's this link between the architect, the engineer, the developer, the city, the other engineers, the entire kind of work process. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of the glue of all of those, the glue of sustainability.
The sustainability glue.
Exactly, yes.
And you noticed then in the previous activities or your previous activities that the countries that you worked in were already way further in the sustainability aspect?
Kind of, yes. Specifically in why, for example, Paris, because they have HQ. It's a standard for sustainability in real estate, and it was mandatory from a certain square meters. And it's a standard that works on sustainability with regard to a lot of themes, mobility, comfort, energy, materials. So they were already obliged from a starting point to tackle this. And for every big project with a tendering process, you needed your bureau d'études HQ, it was called. And it's actually a consultancy company in sustainability in the real estate sector. And it already exists for quite a long time. But in Belgium, we don't have that.
And we still don't have that.
So we decided, come on, we're going to be the first company in Belgium that is just going to focus on sustainability in the real estate sector. A lot of other people work on sustainability, yeah? But it's always linked to something else. Like it's linked to doing the technical installations, doing project management. And we feel that sustainability is that important that it should not be a sidekick or an extra service. It should be just that already. And it's already quite vast, all of it that it entails, like all of our studies. Mm-hmm. That, it can be really just doing that and in introducing it in all of the projects.
Okay, so and when did you start SuReal?
Only not even 2 years ago. Like this August, we will celebrate our second anniversary. Yeah.
So it's very recent.
It's very recent, but we have, we actually have quite a good track record already. We have already 150 ongoing projects and over 3.5 million square meters that we advise on.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And now already in 3 countries we have projects. So I can't complain. It's quite...
What's the secret sauce outside of the sustainability sauce? What's the secret sauce that made that exponential, that really fast growth happen, you think?
Well, I guess also one of our values is we're independent consultancies. Also, we started it at the exact moment. And now there's a lot of things going on in the sector with regard to sustainability. A lot of push and pull from a lot of different actors. So it's already also, it's the right time, it's the right place. Mm-hmm. But also thanks to the previous experience that we got, we were already known as a person in the sector in Belgium, and also our values actually are dedication, excellence, value co-creation, one step ahead, and a one-stop shop. And I think that through those values, that it's working.
Mm-hmm. And so when were you in Paris then, professionally active?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they already had the sustainability, the legislative aspects that said from X amount of square meters, there needs to be certain sustainability goals.
Indeed. Actually, what I always say, for example, when I do a presentation, so the most famous of sustainability schemes for buildings and sites is BREEAM from the UK or internationally. But that was already created in 1998. So this system was already in place from then. In Belgium, we just started in 2006 with EPB regulations, energy regulations. And then afterwards, of course, we had our own instruments, but we don't have one instrument in Belgium that sets forth that. And Paris, they had their HQE, their translation of like a BREEAM scheme. Mm-hmm. And we were a lot of people around the table. They also wanted to involve certain expertise. And that is what managed to go beyond there. Yeah.
So now we're 10 years later, and do you see any Belgian or Flemish legislation on its way that's on the same level as it was 10 years ago in Paris?
Yes, actually. I would say, I would say definitely that recently there are quite some good changes on legislation level, but also in the private sector. In legislation, actually, for example, in Brussels, with regard to carbon, now we're also looking to the embodied carbon. Whenever we introduce a permit now, and we want to renovate or demolish a part, we need to show an environmental impact, a life cycle assessment of what we're doing, of the energy, of the materials, everything that we're doing, and we need to show them what is the total environmental impact of what we're doing there. That's not written in legislation, but it's requested now for every permit.
That's in Brussels.
That's in Brussels, yes, indeed. What we do see more guidelines. It's not always written in stone. It's not really in the legislation as that is. One of the recent ones is fossil fuel free, no gas anymore. Also with some guidelines between, but it's mainly actually from the EU. Also now with the European Green Deal that has been set forth from the EU, there are a lot of laws that trickle through in the different regions and that really help actually in terms of that. Yeah.
So you're seeing significant change coming our way.
Definitely.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's very positive.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the challenge that we're facing, are you positive? Are you optimistic?
I'm optimistic, but in general, I'm an optimist. So maybe it's better to ask a pessimist that question.
Okay. Because where does your personal interest in the sustainability side come from?
It's always been there. Yeah, I think it's like a lot of people who want to make an impact on society and having their job meaning something in the end. When I was young, it was or being a doctor or doing studies as an engineer architect and trying from that point of view to help people then. Doctor, no. I don't like the blood and everything. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
Prefer concrete instead of blood.
Yeah, exactly. And then indeed, in Madrid, actually, I stumbled upon sustainability on master plan level, really. And then I just continued in it. And I truly believe that by doing that we really make a big, important societal change. And that's also the goal of SuReal, is to really be a game changer and to change to really have a change of value chain in the real estate sector, mm-hmm. and to think long term and to have this future-proofed societal impact.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny when you're explaining this, it sounds kind of familiar because it was basically the same with myself and my co-founder Axel. Like, we were also studying and we wanted to do a positive influence by our day-to-day activities, our job. And then after doing some research, we stumbled upon the figures that explain what the impact of construction is on society or on the sustainability level. Yeah. But it took us a while. When you were studying, or was it taught, or did you look it up yourself, or how did you stumble upon the big environmental problem?
I don't remember completely, but no, in Leuven we did have some courses on it, and it started actually more in terms of comfort, like thermal comfort, visual comfort, and what do we do there? But then again, like I said, I went to Madrid, mm-hmm. and there they were also a little bit further with the investigations there. And but then I had a really good professor at university, and he was also researching it. So it was really in the beginning. It was when it was at the beginning of the duurzaamheidsmeters that were being made. So yes, I did have to go look for it. So the first approach of my thesis was really like digging into all the documents that were there, mm-hmm. and then finding all of these references. But there was already a lot of separate stuff available. And then through some digging, and then especially working abroad, you get the fuller picture of it. Yeah.
Were you mostly working in European countries?
Mostly, yeah. I did live and work in Manila as well.
Okay.
That was the only one outside of Europe. But also, I did do some projects in, for example, Ecuador, Guadeloupe, Africa, because it's actually not rocket science. Actually, like, it is science, but it's not rocket science. I mean, you can have a sustainable approach on the North Pole and in Africa and everywhere in the country. It's just thinking. You mm-hmm. need to think about it. You need to study it, and then everywhere you can do your thing, and mm-hmm. with the local teams, of course, and with everybody together.
It's funny that you say that, because it's something that we say inside our organization as well. It's not rocket science, but what we've noticed is that it's mostly like siloed knowledge in our folk. Like, there's some expertise that's really specific to plumbers. There's some expertise that's really specific to electricians, and there is not enough in our field, not enough communication between the different fields to get to more optimal and more efficient result.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Okay.
No, that's indeed, because actually it's not rocket science, but it's also not easy.
No.
If you want to have because sustainability is a balance between ecological, economical, and what is the other E again? Ecology, economy, and come on, yeah, it's people, planet, profit.
Yes. Okay.
And so it's a balance. For example, you could have for example, now we're working a lot on carbon emissions, on the materials part and the energy part. And you could go towards a carbon neutral building. But if you really want to push it towards neutral, it will cost a lot. And therefore it's not affordable. And affordability is also sustainability. Or another example, we work with the architects together, and for example, one aspect is to have a lot of natural daylight. So you would want to have fully glazed, but then that is not good for your thermal comfort and for your energy efficiency. So it's through an iterative process, you find a solution, but you need to do the process, and you need to have everybody around it to pick in. And therefore, it is
not easy.
Not easy.
It's a balancing act.
Indeed, and even for us, I mean, we have a lot of experts in the team, and everybody has their own expertise. So even one person in the office doesn't know everything about sustainability. They also need to go and ask the experts about it. So I can completely understand that architects, developers nowadays, they're lost in a kind of way, because legislation is changing. You need to find a balance. Nobody has a degree in it. There is no degree in it. So yeah, indeed, you need to. It's co-creation. It's talking together. That's why I really love a Bao team. And sitting together from the beginning, thinking about it, working together in the same space. Even just one day, lock yourself up. Let's get it out. Come back in. But yeah, everybody needs to be open for it and want to have this iterative process.
Is the environmental aspect already an issue in countries like Manila?
Yes, but they're not doing a lot about it.
Okay.
But every country has their challenges. For example, in Manila, it's more about also the air, the quality of the air. It's highly polluted. So they need to tackle that.
Right.
But that's also a complication. I mean, you don't just. It's more on a governmental level as well. So that sometimes is a frustrating part. What we do is we work on a building, we work on a master plan, but there is another level on top of it, which is political. And for example, indeed, if you're going to build a super sustainable neighborhood, and next to it, they're going to plant a gas factory, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, then it doesn't work. Or the typical thing about, I'm going to build a passive villa in the middle of nowhere, not sustainable.
Why? I mean...
Yeah, okay, to explain indeed. Yeah, because a lot of times this super sustainable villa is built on a never built plot. So you're taking away land that's supposed to be for the nature. And you need your car to go back and forth, and the infrastructure that you need for that, and the pollution that creates, and the environmental impact that creates. It's the least sustainable thing that you can do. So it's looking at it from a bigger point of view.
If you have that perspective in the back of your mind, then Belgium is quite challenging. There's still quite a lot of work to be done here. Indeed,
but again, it's this collaboration between private and public. We need to go denser, definitely, but now local legislation doesn't allow us to do that. To build higher, there were like these ancient RUPs and plans that go way back, and we're not flexible enough in it. What I think is the main challenge is the flexibility of our system. Is legislation, it's bureaucracy. It's we're going at a too slow pace, and the environment is not waiting.
What is it? We have 3,800 days left before we reach the number of particles per million that's going to cross us across the 2 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. We're like, and some no, it's
nothing.
Yeah, and
it's 9 years.
I know, and what is also quite what we also really do find quite shocking is so we do simulations about thermal comfort and about visual comfort, etc. And we always use these climate adaptive scenarios in it. That means that we want to be already now. We want to build now so that we're ready for drafts, for heat waves, for heavy rains in the future. And so we use data for that. So the predicted data for 2050, 2100.
They're models that predict.
They're models that were predicted. Okay, how hot is it going to be? How many rainfall will we have? How dry will it be? But we're already there.
Really?
Yeah. So the models that were made for 2050, for example, we actually see that those are more or less, that those are actually now what we're having now. So in terms of, like, for example, the buildings that were simulated 5 years ago with the climate data, there was still climate data of 1999 even. And so we were building buildings that were okay with the climate scenario of even 5 years ago. And so, yeah, of course, now we have a lot of residential apartments in the summer. Of course, they heat up. And then everybody installs airco systems, which is just making things worse, because an airco is just really, really making things worse. And so when we do the simulations, or when we look at the projected climate scenarios, we're actually already there. So indeed, it is kind of like a wake-up call, and actually like what happened. I don't like what happened with the pandemics. I also felt quite ill, so I don't really like it. But it is also a wake-up call, but that's a positive aspect about it. I do feel that the pandemic has changed mindsets, especially in terms of our air quality, or well-being, because ecology also has to do with that. With our air quality, with our water quality, with the recent pollutions that we had in Antwerp also show that. And therefore, it's also, it's not just what we do on our building plot. It is, where are we going to build? Are we going to build even still on polluted soil? What are we going to do with these pollutions? Where are we going to put our factories? It's the total ecosystem that we have to look at.
So a really big hurdle to take is the slowness of the legislative part of the cycle.
Indeed. And I do feel that the private sector is being more ambitious than what the public sector is doing.
Mm-hmm.
The private sector is really best of class now, and not everybody, but what we're seeing there is they're really pushing it, and legislation is even falling behind. Because it's too slow, because also, again, it's not necessarily their fault. Nobody's really has had a degree, and nobody has a degree in sustainability. It is complex, but for example, we even also work for the public sector, and we worked on the new legislation for electric charging. And what was set forth from Europe was a lot more ambitious than what that actually Flanders put as a legislation. So sometimes, in Flanders, because it was for the 3 regions separately, and actually even the Walloons, sorry to say, but they have a more severe regulation on that, and it's a lost opportunity there. So EU level, super highly ambitious. Private sector is also pushing. What we do see is some cities and towns, they do have some of them are really going to an ambitious, and they see that, okay, no, but you need to go in a different level. Take somebody aboard who can guide you on it, but we're not just going to accept what we've been doing for the last 10 years. We're not going to accept it anymore now. Let's look at it together. Let's see how we can do it. So you do have some exceptions, but I would say on regional level, no.
Yeah, it's a recognizable story, because what we also notice is sometimes the slowness of just accepting a building permit or getting back with feedback to how the client can optimize certain variables of the design.
Indeed.
For us personally, it's also a huge hurdle, because it's not in Brussels. We are in discussion with a couple of clients to implement SAM in their project. They've been waiting for their building permit for 2 years.
I know.
2 years. And we sent a quote in the beginning of this year, and then they said, okay, we're going to hand it back in with the new design. We will hear you at the end of this year.
Yeah, I know.
And then we're like, wait, what? And then they're not even building. They're going to hear the feedback from the client. And then 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a Canadian business that we're also in discussion with. And I told them this story. I told them, like, yeah, in Belgium, specifically in Brussels, it's at the point that it's not unusual to wait 2 years for your building permit. And you should have seen his reaction. He thought I was lying. He actually thought I was lying. He's like, no, you're joking. That's not possible. 2 years. Who pays this? He's like, he was in disbelief. He's like, in Canada, if it goes further than 6 weeks, it's a lawsuit. It's just unacceptable.
I know. It's a big challenge. It's a big problem. We work with a lot of big developers and with a lot of projects in Brussels. But it's not only in Brussels, but Brussels has been lately quite
bad.
I'm
only telling what I hear.
No,
I don't
definitely.
Bad mouth anyone, but I'm just...
But it is true. It is true. And everybody is complaining about it. And it is actually, it's going too slow. It is bureaucracy. But at a certain point, it is also even kind of like the limits of our democracy. We're going to the completely other side. But there are some, you have the not in my backyard syndrome. Mm-hmm. And that also can block processes quite severely. And in other countries, you have solutions to tackle that, and there's not one person that can just stop having your building permit, and even we see certain clients that really go super far in their sustainability ambitions, and they really, really, really far in it. It's really lovely, and then their permit gets stuck. Because one of the neighbors is just complaining about something, or another small rule about a RUP that has been made 10 years ago, or political non-agreements between different parties. So what would really help is that everybody thinks about the bigger picture and thinks more about the society and its whole. And I think everybody wants to believe that they do, but I do feel that there are a lot of personal, individual reasons also behind it. And that slows down the process. And then everybody's thinking more about their own little thing that they need to foresee, and it's not in a co-creation kind of way.
Personal gain instead of societal gain.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you see any opportunities to do something about this?
Well, I don't know. I have recently asked the question about, I'm not going to say the name, but no, I sit together with politicians, with a lot of people who have influence. And I also asked the same question, like, how can I make a change on all of this? And I don't know, maybe I should sue someone. Like the recent climate suit. I really find it's a really good idea. Or I don't know, start a petition or something. And you do have like these great initiatives that are there. But actually what their advice was more, just do what you're doing now. And with what you're doing now, with your business, with guiding all of these societies, but also maybe indeed just like, for example, we also do innovation projects. Now we have like Vlaanderen Circulair, new business models about circular economy models. And you said like, just continue what you're doing and then push in this way, and then it will follow. That was the answer. And okay, that's what we're doing now. And whenever I can, I do bring it up, and I do give lectures on in this field, and I do hope that that they're gonna listen.
Of course, yeah.
But it's not all bad, because, for example, then there's the other side in Brussels. Actually, I've been on some missions in New York. And in New York, Brussels is seen as the example in terms of sustainable building. Because actually, and indeed they're right, what did Brussels do? In 2015, they set forth the passive house rules. And it was severe. It was from zero to, it's not zero to all, but it was quite a big change. And but that changed the building sector. Everybody had to think in a different way. They also set forth these subsidy trajectories, be exemplary, etc. And it really did have a push on it. So there was a shift in a certain way. There was legislation and then some example projects. You have also the EcoBuild cluster. So there are some examples, and now we're going again in November to New York.
Okay.
Like 2-3 years ago, before the pandemic, we did this icebox challenge on Times Square. It's where you put you have a passive house, and then you have like a normal house, and you put an ice cube in it, and then you do this quiz on how long is it going to take for the ice cubes to melt in the boat, and you show the difference between them. It's not all about sustainability. It's more on passive house. It's not full, but it did make a change. And now they're actually gonna do this kind of Be Exemplary project in New York, where they're saying you can use, for example, the Brussels experience to help you in New York.
Okay.
Which is kind of great. So that's an example of how small elements can actually help on a bigger scale. So it's not all...
No, of course not. It's no. No, I don't think that's what we should try to communicate at all. Because I can imagine that if you look at the United States in comparison, there's still quite a lot of work that needs to get done there, I assume.
Indeed. But I do feel, indeed, it's let's be nuanced. We need to do a lot more. Mm-hmm. And legislation is not following. Not everybody's following. A lot of the private people are really going in a good direction, but the focus should also be good. And the terminology of like sustainability is becoming a container word. And that also there are a lot of people who are still doing greenwashing. Really, I don't like it. But there are a lot of greenwashers out there. Again, I'm not going to go name. No. But it is, and everybody's now, I'm being sustainable. And then they're just putting a green roof. I mean, that's not being sustainable. It needs to be. We need to have a good, clear framework of what does it mean. Mm-hmm.
But if you also want to, I mean, I notice it as well with certain potential clients or clients that I talk to. It's becoming more difficult to really position yourself as the green developer, because 10 years ago, EPB was still at its beginning, and non-fossil fuel warming was a very special thing. But now it's almost like EPB is at its maximum, and everyone is installing heat pumps, and building in wooden construction is becoming, even though it's still not that normal, but it's becoming more mainstream. So, I think my question is, what are like the next big steps developer could do to go that next extra level?
But I think already now, like we should not do a sustainable project to be able to say we're a green developer. like the early adapters, they used it in a marketing strategy. I think kind of the time is over. I think if you're not doing sustainable, that is also a statement.
Of course. Yeah.
And everybody should now do the basic stuff. And we do also help on a company level. So we do this, we have a department of ESG, this environmental social governance, where you look at the entire picture on your corporate level and on your developments or on your portfolio. And it's really important that you practice what you preach. So you can have, like, for example, some people just have like one pilot project, oh, we're going to go all the way. And then all of the other projects, no, nothing. Again, building in a far away natural development, no, that's not the way to do it. Or that as a company, they're not doing anything. So I really feel that the time is over to do that. Even banks now, our bank sector is also really helping actually towards this push. They're demanding now your sustainability ambitions. What are you going to do on a company level? And that is going to determine if you're going to get your loan and how much and on which terms and everything.
That's already happening now?
Yeah. It's still really in the process. It's really in the process, but yeah, definitely. Also from the investor side, they're looking at the ranking of sustainability of your portfolio, and that's happening on a world level. For example, we're using GRESB for that, and that's a ranking of your portfolio, of your company, of your portfolio, in terms of ESG, environmental social governance. And it really gives you, like, you're the best of class of the entire world, of the best of class in offices in Western Europe, and it gives you all the data. It gives all the data that's in there, and it highlights, like, on water you're doing like this, on waste you're doing like that, in energy you're doing like that. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's really, really great, and we're going towards this. Banks are also pushing it. Investors are asking it. So there's really this wake up call that happens in the last months. Like, we really need to do it, and it's good because then, for example, the people who just do one project and don't do anything at all for the other projects, or don't do anything at all at corporate level, yeah, they're gonna be called to the spot, and they're not gonna be able to continue doing that. So there is indeed that shift, but it's a lot more than just on an energy level. Again, it's on the total picture. And it's also going towards more health and well-being, for example. That's also sustainability. I really love all the developments now in terms of circular economy, how we're tackling with, like, urban mining, reusing materials from one building and putting it in the other building. It's super smart. Why didn't we think about doing that, like, so many time ago?
Yeah.
And we're in a complete different mindset, which is good, and it's all happening really fast. But it needs to be in a total way. And I also do feel that we can make mistakes. Like, indeed, if we focus, for example, like saying, I'm going to build a passive house, villa in the middle of nowhere, that's a mistake. And we can do other mistakes even now, like setting forth some of the elements more than others. It needs to be a balance of everything. Also, like, towards more the social aspect of it as well. We can't forget that. Mixity, diversity, affordability, that also needs to be there. And
yeah, because you can, of course, try to build a completely circular building with today's techniques, but that's not going to be a very affordable building right now, I assume.
It can be.
Okay.
It can be, actually. That's one of the great aspects. If you think about it in a really good way already from the top, it does not necessarily need to cost more, and especially on the long term, it's not gonna cost more. But indeed, it's everything. It's like, technology is great, but technology should not mean that it's not affordable anymore. It should be a help and not set forth as an ambition as such. Or, for example, one of the other crises is biodiversity, especially in Belgium. We're building everything.
Everything is fully built.
Everything is fully built, and which is not built is just like une pelouse, grass.
It's very strange. If you've grown up here, you think it's normal.
Yeah.
And then you cross any border and you're like, whoa, there's space.
Indeed. So, there's this image when you have like a fish with his big mouth open, which is like, I'm the COVID pandemic. Yeah. And then we have like a bigger fish coming over that and saying, I'm climate, like climate crisis. And then another one is saying like biodiversity. And so yeah, those are the next pandemics, but it's not going to happen now. It's going to happen.
It is happening already.
It is happening already, but again, it's like this individualistic point of view. Like you and me today are really suffering from climate change now.
Not yet. This week it was a really intense rainfall, and maybe in some people's home it rained inside.
Yeah.
But and it's warm, but we install more air conditioning, so it's manageable.
Yeah, but the air conditioning is then heating up again. Yeah. So indeed,
you're pushing the problem to the future.
Exactly, and actually, you have this. The definition of sustainability comes from the Brundtland Convention, and there they say that actually sustainability is making sure that for future generations, it is thinking for the future generations, and that is what we need to do now as well, and. Maybe there, the problem lies again in politics, is that they're thinking about a 5-term period. And
it's true.
This may be a bit harsh from me,
but it's true. But we're facing problems that are multi-generational problems in a political system that's focused on 4 years. And some of our biggest competitors do have the capability to think in multiple generations, and they can make plans and political plans in multiple generations, and then it's going to be a big conflict, I think, in the 21st century.
Definitely.
But I want to respect your time, and I see we have not that many minutes left, and there was one other topic that I quickly wanted to bring up outside of the sustainability aspect. We noticed that, with this podcast, we were looking for thought leaders in the construction environment. And we noticed that it was really difficult to find women. So we were thinking to ask you this question. Why is this the case? And we also noticed that with your organization, with SuReal that you're building, you're trying to do something about it, it seems. But do you have an idea why this is? Because for us, we are working on something that we perceive to be really important, and it seems that a big part of almost the half of society seems to be like, excluded is a big word, but less present from a certain level onwards, and it's very confusing. And I don't really know, because you would think that with the new generation that comes in, it would change.
Not
we really needed to look quite hard.
So, I know.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how this comes?
I have no idea, but indeed, like real estate sector is quite male.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of meetings in my life, and I think the amount of meetings that we were more female than male, I can count on one hand.
Really?
Really.
And how many years that you're professionally active?
What is it again? 13 years. Oh. So I had maybe more than 10,000 meetings or something, and I really don't have more than 5 meetings where we were with more women than. But I don't know why. But what I did notice, indeed, with SuReal, we didn't do anything special. We just believe in equality. In all kinds of ways, age, gender, religion, whatever. But it's not that we set forward rules or anything. But what I also noticed is actually because before I was also in a manager seat. I also did the interviews, and we only got male resumes, or mainly dominant male. And now at SuReal, it was really dominantly female, and I also didn't get it. And then I actually questioned the women who came in for an internship or like an interview, or the people who work for us. And they said, like, okay, but because you're giving the example, you're the CEO of the company, and it's not in a direct way, but in an indirect way, it helps. It gives more security, or it boosts me. And I also do believe that if a woman is head of a company or co-head or makes together decisions, the company image will be more female. Mm-hmm. The values will be more female, more balanced. The values will be, the mission will be, the website will be, what you put on your website, the text, what you put on social media, it will be more balanced. Mm-hmm. And therefore you will attract more women. So that is, I really truly believe that we need to facilitate, not set up rules, but facilitate really women being able to be in leadership positions and trying to change it that way.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're trying to do our part, but yeah, it's challenging. We have an open position now.
Yeah.
Engineering position. 90% of applicants male.
Male, yeah.
And even though our team now is almost 50% female, so they can see it on the website, but still it's it's strange. Anyway, where do you see the company in 5 years?
Good question. We just recently did our business plan.
Okay.
And we set six ambitions, six objectives for the next 5 years. And the first one, it's also meant as a joke in the word, but it was world domination.
Is that ambitious enough?
It's kind of, yeah. But it was guided. It was like this, it was guided. This was from this program Croissance, from Réseau Entreprendre. And it said, you need to be ambitious. So yeah, we were thinking, okay, what do we actually want to do? And we said, okay, we want to become the international reference consultancy for a future-proof society. That is what we want to become.
That's broader than construction.
Yes, because actually from the department of our ESG, it is not just on construction, it is also on the company level. So for the moment, we're really still in the construction part, real estate. But because we're also guiding them on company level, we're actually helping, for example, gender balance. We're also helping in terms of that. What are you yourself doing about your mobility shift? What are you doing about your emissions? So it's also on this corporate level, company level that we're working. So yeah, we're going broader than just construction. And one of the other objectives was making sure that there's no more greenwashing and making sustainability claims more tangible, more measurable. That the people who do really do it, that they get awarded for it. And the people who are just doing bullshitting and greenwashing, that they don't get rewarded anymore for it.
Developing the tools to do that.
Yeah, trying to solve the problem in that way. And for example, energy is really easy. Now you have your EPB, tuck. Now we will have normally we will have this system that goes into operational carbon as well. That tackles so making it tangible, making the
operational carbon, is that the carbon that's stored in the building via the materials that have been used?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it makes up for the total carbon, which is energy, and then material, and that is going to be quantified. Then indeed, with the BREEAM process, you have this process. But yeah, making everything more measurable and tangible, and rewarding the people who do that, because we do see that some of our clients, they're going all the way, and it's magic. They really believe in it, and they're all the way. But for example, their marketing machine doesn't work that well in it, and therefore they don't get awarded for it, or they don't get the credits for it. And then you have other people who are not really doing a lot, and they have an incredible marketing machine, and they're perceived as the most sustainable company in the world. But it's not true, and we want to cut out the bullshit.
Sounds like a great plan. World domination.
Yeah, world domination and cutting out the bullshit. Yeah,
that should be the slogan.
Yeah.
Hanging on a wall.
Yeah.
No bullshit and world domination.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a couple of fun questions to end with. The pandemic seems to be coming to an end.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to travel. What's the first destination that you're going to go to now that construction holiday is coming, and maybe you have a little bit more freedom? Or if you would have all freedom again, like 18 months ago, what would be the first destination you would go to?
Actually, I was meant to go surfing in Portugal, but it's not going to happen anymore because of the Delta virus.
It's cancelled.
But we canceled it because now it's a red zone now, and it's lockdown now. It's there, so
it's in Lisbon. I heard about it.
Yeah, now it's in the entire country actually. So it's evolving super fast. So I do like to travel, but I do like to do it also in a sustainable way.
Okay.
So if I really could do whatever I would like to do, I really want to take a year and go by train, by boat, slow traveling, and then see the world. Go to places, not the typical touristical places, but experience, because actually the best sustainable practices are where you don't have any technology at all. And then you find inspiration there.
Slow down.
Yeah.
That's going to be difficult to combine together with world domination.
I know.
You can try.
Yeah, even the world domination and going by boat. I mean, it's kind of tricky.
You never know.
Yeah.
Maybe you will find a way. Final question then. If there was one person, living or death, in construction that you can have a dinner or a beer with, who would it be? Someone who's really inspired you in the construction industry.
In the construction industry.
Can be more broad as well, but someone that really inspired you to do what you do today.
I don't actually have one person. I would actually say that I would like to sit together again with the people who inspired me in Madrid. They started the first project. They had quite a good idea. They were the first one who started it, and it was kind of like a team of 5 people. And actually, it would be with them to see how everything changed there. And it's not one person in particular.
It's a team.
It's a team, and it's not a famous kind of person, because you do have famous people in construction. You do have disruptors. And they're doing a great job, but you kind of already hear about them and you see them and you speak with them. But what I really truly want to, maybe the ideal one would be organizing a dinner, inviting people who have worked with from all over the world, all sit together and all talk about our experiences. And then maybe at the end of the dinner, come up with some new ideas or new ways to tackle it from private and public again.
Mm-hmm. You could organize this halfway through your travel across the world, like pit stop, get everyone together via boat. Okay.
Via boat. Yeah. Or maybe just put a boat and then get people on it, and then
just a carousel around the world, and then people hop on and hop off.
Yeah.
Great idea. Okay, then I think respecting your time because you still need to go somewhere. I think this is a good place to round it off. I would like to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It was very interesting. I definitely learned a couple of really interesting points. And I wish you the best of luck with SuReal. And maybe we can do this again in a couple of years or in a couple of months when there's something interesting or something specific that comes up via the company.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Sunita.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
At Bao.